I'm just going to come out and say it. If cutting carbs actually fixed your hormones, all women would be healed years and years ago. This is one of the biggest things that I get when I meet with a new client or with pretty much any woman ever is they fear carbs. There's a fear around having too many carbs and is it going to make them fat? Is it impacting their gut health? Is it impacting their blood sugar? Guaranteed, when I meet with a new client and we're going through the list of what diets have you done? What would you give up versus not give up? Always on there is a fear of carbs. They've given up carbs. They've done the keto. They've done the Atkins. They've done all of these things. And most of the time it works until it doesn't. And then they just feel terrible again. And I'm here to tell you that there is a reason why our body needs carbs. And actually, women, we need carbs more so than men do, which is wild to think about. But carbs are so, so important for our hormone health. And by giving them up, you're actually impacting your hormones and making yourself feel worse. And I know it's very unintentional, but if you are trying to feel really good in your skin, carbs are important. So, one of the biggest reasons that carbs are important is it is actually our body's energy and our brain's food. If we are low on carbs, it is going to be very, very difficult for us to recover from our workouts, to get a good night's sleep. The brain fog and fatigue, that is very linked to low carb diets. So, having carbs will help those areas. Carbs are also important for our metabolism. So if we aren't having carbs, our metabolism does slow down a little bit. Specifically, when we do have carbs and you go on this low carb diet right away, you are going to see massive amount of weight loss. And it's because you are removing a whole food group from your diet. And carbs do have a lot of weight. They do have water weight. And so when you're taking those out, you will have a weight loss on the scale. And then over the next couple weeks, that weight loss might like have started here. Over the next couple weeks, it will taper off. And that's when a lot of women are like, this diet's not working, or it was working and now it's no longer working. Why is that? Because we need the carbs, we need the energy. If we are taking, in general, full food groups out of our diet, that is not great for us. And I want to encourage you in general, if you are trying to lose weight, you should be eating in a deficit the same way that you're eating at maintenance or at a surplus, meaning we aren't taking out carbs. We're not taking out X, Y, and Z food because we heard that they're bad food. And if we take them out, we're going to lose weight, especially if you are going to add those foods back later. This is why I believe firmly, like kind of side tangent here, but I believe firmly that you should, in a deficit, still be having the pizza, the ice cream, the girls' night, whatever is your thing, it should still be involved in a deficit because once we add those back in, the weight also comes back on. So, anyways, we'll get back to the carbs now. So, outside of energy production, carbs are also super important for our hormone production, hormone regulation. And when we are on low carbs, we start kind of impacting the production of these hormones, which impacts these large systems. And then we start wondering, why can't we lose weight? Why do I feel so shitty? Why do I have low energy? Why can't I sleep? Why am I crashing in the middle of the day? Why am I bloated? All of these things are very connected to an imbalance with your hormones as well as not having enough carbs. Restricting carbs can impact your thyroid, and your thyroid is in charge of your metabolism, your body temperature, your ability to lose weight or gain weight or gain muscle. So if you are lower on carbs, you are likely to have hypothyroidism. Carbs also help us produce and manage our cortisol, which is our stress hormone. Again, stress is not a bad word here. But when we are low carbs, our cortisol will be off balance, causing more issues with our stress. And as we know, if our stress, it is not about the stress that is actually bad for us, but it is about unregulated stress. So those carbs do help come in and regulate your stress levels. Also, for the women who are still in their menstrual years, carbs help with your PMS symptoms. So if you are feeling hangry, having cravings, those are typically signs of lower carb. If you have more mood swings or sleep issues, again, connected to lower carbs. Carbs help with our testosterone as well, so our testosterone production, which is also important because for women, as we get older, we are losing our muscle mass and our bone density, and testosterone will help us maintain that. Carbs also help balance our serotonin, which is in charge of our mood, how we're feeling. So, having lower carbs will decrease our serotonin, making us feel a little bit more blah. So, not just during our menstrual cycle, but this is for everyone. If you are low carbs, you will have a lower mood. And though I've talked about women who are menstruating, also for women who are in menopause, carbs are so important. They help protect against things like hot flashes and these other menopausal symptoms that we do feel. So, with menopause, oftentimes our mood does start decreasing. Carbs can help. Our muscle mass and bone density starts decreasing. Again, carbs can help. Our sleep starts decreasing. Carbs can help. We get hot flashes and these other symptoms, and carbs can help those. And for women who are trying to get pregnant, carbs are so important for fertility. They help manage and regulate our hormones, which will give you a better chance of pregnancy. So, saying all of that, I know as a woman, it is really scary to have it in your head for as long as we can all remember that carbs are bad for you. You should avoid carbs. Carbs are going to make you fat. Whatever that whole narrative is, it is really frustrating. It is really hard to mentally get your mind around needing more carbs. And just for a little story on myself, there was several years ago, I gained 20 pounds with my PCOS and endometriosis. The doctors didn't know why. They basically just brushed me off and said, like, it's probably just your PCOS. And I went through a weight loss phase. When I went through my weight loss phase, and I'm not going to tell you your calories and your macros because they should be specific to you, your goals, your body, etc. But when I went through my weight loss phase, I was still eating 200 plus grams of carbs, and I lost over 20 pounds of weight that I had gained. So carbs are not the bad guy. They actually can come in and help you. On top of that, it really did help my PCOS and endometriosis symptoms in other ways, helped with my sleep, it helped with my mood swings, it helped with my heavy periods, it helped with my workouts too, so gaining muscle, recovering, etc. Carbs really are just such a good thing for you. And I know, again, being a woman, being told over and over again that carbs are the bad guy, or they are not good for you, or they are going to spike your blood sugar, or they're going to make you fat, or whatever story they tell us, it is really hard to overcome that story. However, one of the things that really helped me after, and years ago, I went through like the old school paleo. This was like over a decade ago. I was really into like the paleo movement where you're not eating bread, you're not eating, like you're only eating like what the caveman ate, right? And so for me, that was a good reason for me to avoid and skip carbs. So I didn't eat the bread. I didn't eat the rice. I didn't eat potatoes. I didn't eat anything. Like I literally would have like protein and fruits and vegetables, and that was it. And at that time, I was also a runner, and I did see firsthand how no carbs or low carbs do break down your body. However, I have overcome the carb thing because now I love carbs. I will literally eat like hundreds of grams of carbs per day, and I feel amazing on them. But what really helped me go from this place of paleo and not really eating a lot of carbs in general to eating like, 200 grams of carbs in a deficit and then more than that now. I'm not tracking, so I actually don't know how many grams of carbs I'm eating currently, but over 200 grams of carbs. That didn't happen overnight. That wasn't just like, oh, all of a sudden, like I understand how beneficial carbs are and I'm cured. That doesn't happen that way. What I really focused on instead was focusing on the carbs that made my body feel good and more of these like natural carbs. So I would pretty after my body started breaking down from the paleo and being a runner, I started implementing more of like brown rice, or sometimes I would do a potato. So more of these like natural carbs. And then, I started dating somebody who's now my husband. I started dating somebody who is Italian, and they make a lot of pastas. And that was still like really scary for me to eat. And so that was another test of like adding in pastas. Or even when I was adding in bread again, I added in sourdough bread first. So there is a process of how you can add more carbs. And then another thing that also really helped me was timing my carbs around my workouts as well as my sleep. So in the morning when I work out, I do have a carb before my workout. Right now I'm on like a graham cracker kick, so I'll have a graham cracker and then get my workout in. Um, before I would do like, applesauce packets or a banana, things like that, just a quick carb to get a carb in for my workout. And then after my workout, I still get a carb. So today I had my graham cracker, I did my workout. After my workout, I had Greek yogurt with granola and berries, etc. And so there's ways that you can still have like sneak in these carbs and not feel like you're just carb bombing yourself or you're reversing everything. So pairing carbs too with like a protein and or a fat would be really, really beneficial for you. And then I found, and I talk about this a lot with a lot of my clients as well as a lot of my friends. If you come to me with sleep issues, this is going to be one of the things I recommend. But if you are waking up in the middle of the night, that's usually a blood sugar crash, and specifically around that like 2, 3 a.m. time. So I recommend having a carb snack before bed, and this could be something like a rice cake or popcorn or if you're not doing like yogurt and granola or oatmeal or something like that right before, or peanut butter toast was one of mine. And that's going to help stabilize your blood sugar throughout the night, help you sleep better. But it also increases your carbs, helps you with the recovery, etc. So carbs are not scary. But what is scary is that there is still a narrative out there that carbs are bad for us when it is proven over and over and over again that they are so beneficial for women and we should be having them, especially if we are having hormonal symptoms. If we are struggling to sleep at night, if we are struggling to lose weight, struggling to build muscle, struggling with bloating, brain fog, fatigue all day. These are signs that you need more carbs in your life. So I'm curious, let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on carbs? Are you pro carb? Are you a little bit like carbs are kind of scary? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. And that is all I have on Hormone Happy Hour. Cheers.